Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello and welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Max 6 Entrepreneur Center in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. I'm very excited today to meet for the first time Arizona Facial Plastics CEO and co-founder, Felicia Munion. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I am too. So let's just jump right in and have you tell us a little bit about Arizona Facial Plastics. And then I'm always excited to hear a little bit about the backstory.
Sure. Arizona Facial Plastics is a leading med spa here in the Valley, but we do more than med spa. We started in 2016, where my then husband and I had relocated here from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we had been running a similar business for almost 15 years. And Albuquerque, there were a couple things that happened where we just looked around one day and we were like, oh, this isn't really the place to be anymore. So we figured out how to get ourselves to Phoenix. We moved here in 2016 and started Arizona Facial Plastics. And it's been kind of a wild ride since then.
One location or multiple locations here in Phoenix?
Just one location. We're in Central Phoenix on Indian School and 31st Street, so pretty conveniently located.
Yeah. And before we went live, you and I were just getting to know each other a little bit. You mentioned law school. How does a law school student go to the business that you're in today? Make the leap for me.
Yeah, it is kind of an interesting journey. I think, you look back at your life and at different times you do different things. And sometimes you go, wow, how do these all fit together? Like, why am I doing all these different things? But I'm actually at a place right now where I can look back at almost everything that I've touched in the past 20, 25 years and said, oh, wow, this is all helpful for today. So law school came about because we moved to upstate New York, Rochester, for my then husband's residency right after I finished college. And I spent a couple years working at SUNY Brockport as an admissions counselor, just making sure that I spent some time thinking about what the next step was going to be. So because I was in Rochester, law school seemed like a good option. It's already cold. Might as well spend some time inside studying. So I was lucky enough to get into Cornell Law School. So then I spent 3 years at Cornell doing my law degree.
Oh my gosh. So your ex-husband and partner did his residency in New York. Mm-hmm. And what was his specific focus at the time?
He does ear, nose, and throat. So he's actually a double board certified plastic surgeon. So he has a board certification in ear, nose, and throat and in facial plastic surgery, which is really awesome because the ENT residency is about 5 years of in-depth surgery. So he really understands anatomy of the face, how the muscles and the fascia and the skin lie together. Then he spent 1 year in Switzerland doing a facial plastics residency where he really learned from excellent plastic surgeons how to reconstruct faces, like from all the skiing accidents that they would have in Switzerland.
Right. With that background, then, help me and our listeners understand the transition then to med spa in Albuquerque and then, of course, here in Phoenix. That's fascinating.
It is. Like I said, it's just such an interesting journey when you look back on a life. So when he finished his residency, he had the opportunity to do the 1 year fellowship in Switzerland. And I was finishing my second year at Cornell Law School. So he was going to be moving to Switzerland. And I was like, okay, well, how do I get to Europe? Lucky enough, Cornell Law School had a joint degree program with the Sorbonne University in Paris. And because I grew up in a French-speaking country, and I knew French, I was selected to participate in this joint degree program. So for my third year of law school, I didn't have to stay in snowy Ithaca. I moved to Paris and got to live in a 6th floor attic apartment. Like, those when you look out and you see all the rooftops of Paris, that was like my view. Right in Saint Germain, in a building that had been there for 600 years, I think. It was pretty incredible. So we were in Europe for a year. I like to say it was my year of 2 houses in Europe, one in Switzerland and one in Paris. And we would just, stuff life. We would kind of take the train back and forth every couple of weeks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you have kiddos. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your kids.
Yeah. So when we finished the residency and the fellowship in Europe, we moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, mostly because after being in upstate New York, I didn't want to be anywhere cloudy anymore. Mm-hmm. And Albuquerque, the main draw was, they said 300 sunny days a year. I was like, yes, I'm in. So we moved to Albuquerque and he was working at the University of New Mexico. And I got a clerkship with Judge Hartz on the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. And then as I got that clerkship, and then I got pregnant right then also. So I had a year before I started the clerkship. I had my baby. And when Asher, my oldest, was about 8 weeks old, I started working for the judge. And I have a 12-year-old now and also a 5-year-old. So 15, 12, and 5.
Oh my goodness. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that the little one isn't in school quite yet, right?
Right.
So you're doing the balancing act.
It's always a balancing act. He was, I mean, when you hear the ages 15, 12, 5, people are like, oh, what happened there? And I like to say, well, I was going to name him Oops, but I think that would be a little traumatic for a lifetime.
Bonus. I have a bonus baby.
Bonus.
Yeah.
He really is. He's always been like so loving and sweet. And what I found most dear, I think, was that with the first two, 15 and 12, and being a new mom, it was always like, is this correct? Checking how long a nap should be. Am I bathing them enough? Are they eating enough? Like keeping track of everything so specifically. And then in the nighttime when you're waking up with them, you can get a little overwhelmed and like, when are they going to sleep through the night? But by the time the last one comes along, I found I could just let it all go.
Yes.
And it was much more relaxing, and I was able to enjoy everything. Like even the middle of the night wake ups, I was just like, this won't be forever.
Yeah. Same with me. 27, 25 for my older two. I mentioned that to you before we went on air. And they're living in the area. And then it's just my 14-year-old and I. And bonus baby, second marriage for me, different situation, but so much more relaxed with baby number 3. And like you, very involved in my career, very focused on becoming a successful entrepreneur and business owner. So tell us a little bit about that balancing act.
Well, so when I look back at, we got to Albuquerque, he was working at the university. I was working for the judge, which was crazy, 12-hour days. My nanny would bring the baby to the office so that I could nurse him because I was very committed to breastfeeding. Eventually, I finished the clerkship, started at a law firm. And after about 3 years at the law firm doing civil litigation, which just for me was not the most fulfilling work in the world. I basically was helping people fight about money. And at the end of the day, neither of them would be happy. So, and I looked out and I could see the Children's Play Museum, Explora. And I knew that my son was there with the nanny. And I was like, this just isn't worth it because by the time I pay her, I have like $200 left, So it wasn't the most fulfilling thing. So I stepped back from law and we started our own business, which was a side business at the time. He was still working at the university, but he wanted to, because he's double board certified, he's usually in a position where whoever hires him will let him do one of those two things. But few places, insurance doesn't cover facial plastic surgery. So he started that other business on the side. So in about 2005, I started running the side business, but it was super low key, like one employee. Maybe we made enough in a month to cover our expenses. And so over the past 15 to 16 years, it's just been a very gradual process of up-leveling.
Intentionally gradual.
Well, yes, because he had a different job. I was doing other things. So I, started my own coaching business and I got a coaching certification. I would coach physicians. I just did other things. I had the kids that I was raising. And at the same time, I was learning a lot of things about business too. Like you learn from mistakes, right? We had a manager. She was kind of young. And I kept saying to her, I was like, well, are you paying the credit card bill? And she was like, yep, it's paid. After 6 months, I went to look at it and there was, a balance of $40,000, which when you're not making any money every month, that's a lot.
The interest on top of that, the penalties.
Exactly. Yeah. And I said to her, why did you say you were paying it? She was like, oh, I pay the minimum every month. Oh, not the same thing. That was about 2 years into it, I think. And that was a point where I woke up and I said, nobody's going to care about your business as much as you. And so when you're an entrepreneur, I think there are certain things that you always have to have your hand in. Finances is one of them. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, as you start to up level, you're going to hire people who know more than you about finances. You definitely should.
But you don't stop having the conversation. Looking at the numbers.
You always look at the numbers. You always stay in control of the accounts. Because at the end of the day, when they say the buck stops with you, it really does.
Yeah. I know this is well into our conversation, but please tell me your partner's name.
Sure. Farhan Taghizadeh.
Farhan. Okay. I don't want to keep referring to he or the ex-husband. So Farhan, shout out to you. So when you moved to Arizona, then this became the sole business for the two of you?
Right.
Or did that even happen in Albuquerque prior to the move?
Yeah. So it happened in Albuquerque. And again, it's one of those things where you look at it and in the moment, you have no idea why things are happening. He had been working for a very successful national company called Lifestyle Lift, which did facelifts on a national level. I was also working for Lifestyle Lift, coaching different physicians, because physicians can be great at what they do, right? Like they can do a great surgery, but if they have a bad bedside manner and they don't know how to connect to patients, patients don't care how good the result is.
They'll leave.
They'll be pissed. They're just going to be upset. So I was going and helping some of those doctors figure out how to have better interpersonal reactions. And the company was doing amazing. Then suddenly it wasn't. They messed up the marketing. They overspent. The owner was taking a ton of cash out of the business. It was just this combination of factors where one day we found out that the rent hadn't been paid in our Albuquerque office for the past 4 months. We had been subleasing. The landlord was about to lock everything out. So I think in the middle of the night, I got a U-Haul truck, moved everything of ours out of the office.
Before the doors got locked on you.
Before the doors got locked. And then, in the next 30 days, we had to manage all of the patients to be like, hey, we're still here for you. We had to find a new office, move into a new office. So that was in 2014. We moved into that new office and tried to build this practice. And that's when I stepped into it full time, when Lifestyle Lift went bankrupt and that wasn't a source of income anymore. I just decided, hey, look, it's time for us to do this full time.
Yeah. And Farhan did the same thing full time at that point.
Exactly.
And Hardy had been with the Lifestyle Lift.
He had been full time with Lifestyle Lift. And so what we did was the new practice, we opened New Mexico Facial Plastics. That had been our business all along, but it was at a very small scale.
I see.
So all of a sudden we went from having 1 employee to having 12, from 1,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet. I had to figure out insurance billings because we combined the ear, nose, and throat, which is an insurance-based business, with the facial plastics, which is cash. So figuring out all of that stuff, and it was a gradual process over those first, like 2005 to 2014. And I learned a lot of little things along the way, but to suddenly be in it full time and managing, 10 times the revenue I'd been managing was a big thing.
Yeah. What was the draw for the two of you then to come to Arizona? You already had the weather.
Right. We had the sunny days. Albuquerque was a great place to raise kids. When my oldest, though, started to get closer to middle school, we looked around and there just weren't a ton of educational options. At the same time, there had been some political changes where there was less of a focus on public safety, and the crime rate was just going up a lot. Farhan also had started a company that then got investors here in Phoenix. And so at that time, it made sense from the investor and the other company standpoint to come here and just, get out of Albuquerque and then focus on that other company.
Yeah. And you've said since 2018? No, how long?
2016 we moved here in July. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So talk about the products, the services, talk a little bit about more about the Arizona Facial Plastics. What do you have to offer? What's kind of your favorite aspect about the business? And just kind of go from there.
It's a super interesting industry. Like if you had asked me again back in the day, would I ever be in something, vain like plastic surgery, facial plastic surgery? I think when you're not in this industry, you can have a lot of judgment around it.
Sure.
And I certainly did at the beginning. As I got more involved in it, I realized that at the end of the day, people just want to feel good. They want to look in the mirror and the face that looks back to them, they want to feel like they know it and that they connect to it. And as we get older, I think what happens is that our inside doesn't change that much. We still feel young and vibrant and youthful, but the outside does, right?
Yes.
And so people start to see a disconnect between who they feel they are and what they see.
And thank goodness that we have the technology and the medical ability to help people feel good, not only from the inside, but show that outwardly. I looked at the Facebook, Instagram, and your website in preparation for our conversation today. And I will say this is the first time I've looked at a website for facial plastics and saw in the people's eyes the very thing that you're talking about from the before and after pictures. I was like, Wow. I really just sensed exactly what you're describing.
Yeah. And I think one cool thing about this industry is that there's so many different providers out there, right? And so, I do a lot of things that help other business owners who own the same businesses that I do. And people come to me and they're like, why are you helping your competitors? And I don't think of them as competitors because Phoenix actually is the third largest aesthetics market in America,
Oh, wow.
behind Beverly Hills
Sure.
and Miami.
Oh, I was going to say somewhere in New York, but that makes
Nope.
sense. Miami.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you think about the number of people in the Valley, how much we're growing and all the different looks that are out there, there's a provider for every client. What I love about my business is that we've really tried to create a culture where, we're not trying to give people that oh, you've had plastic surgery look. We're not doing that I don't want to say overdone because that's so judgy, right? But there's definitely different looks.
Sure there is.
And
there is a look. There's the Hollywood look.
Yes.
I think, putting air quotes around it, that fit for some personalities and personas, and others, as you spoke to just a bit ago, want to simply just make those enhancements or those changes so that they feel like they're expressing who they are already.
Yes, they just want to look like themselves.
Yeah, and I don't know that. I don't know about the other folks. Maybe that's exactly what they want as well, right? I think we're all trying to your point, I think we're all trying to achieve that. We just simply want to be validated and feel good in our skin. But there definitely is a look. I hear what you're saying. But you guys, you tend to bring in clients who maybe want a more natural
normal
look.
Yeah. More natural.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the biggest concerns that people have coming into our office. I don't want to look fake. I don't want to look done. I don't want to look like Shirley MacLaine.
And you consistently hear that.
We hear it a lot.
A lot of referrals, I would imagine, then too.
Yes, because people will see their friend and be like, oh my gosh, you look so rested. You look great. Have you been exercising, eating well? And that's really our goal, is to help you just look like yourself younger. You want to look youthful, vibrant, radiant, energetic. And that's one of the things in this industry, and in health in general, is that people will, you go to the dentist twice a year because you want to keep your teeth, right? It wasn't always like that. But at some point we decided as a society that teeth were important, and nobody questions you and thinks you're vain for going to take care of your teeth. Skin is the same. Yep. There are things that happen as you get older that they're just biological. And just like we have interventions to help keep your teeth, your heart, your bones healthy, the same thing is available for your face.
Yeah. I'm thinking about my nose. I had impetigo, I think, years ago, like when I was in high school or college, and it ate away some of the inside of my nose and up into my eyebrow. When I'm not feeling well, or maybe have too much inflammation because I'm not eating well, I will still get an infection on my nose. And I've noticed it's changing the shape of my nose. I've often thought, gosh, I don't mind it now, but at some point I may need to go to somebody and say, listen, is it going to keep changing shape? And do I need to take care of the infection in there? So anyway, we'll go see Dr. Farhan.
And actually, I think that's one of the great things about him as a provider is that he is an ear, nose, and throat surgeon and facial plastics. So he fixes noses on the inside so that people can breathe better, have increased functionality, and at the same time makes them look better too.
Yeah. Love it. Tell us about some of the innovations going on in the field. I know, like with anything medically related and technology related, which obviously this is a marriage of both, what are we watching for? What is kind of some of the new exciting innovations that you guys are participating in?
It's so amazing. It's really a great time to be alive from a face standpoint, and body too. There's a lot. It's just not our main focus. In the olden days, surgery was really the only option. There weren't really any devices that were non-surgical that could help keep you looking young. So when you saw people like Sissy Spacek, getting facelifts when they were younger, it's because that was the only thing available. Now you look at people like Jennifer Aniston, these stars who are, in their 50s and 60s, who really look fabulous, but they haven't had a facelift. And that's because there's so much non-invasive technology available. And at our practice, what we try to do is create customized solutions that give you the best result depending on your budget, the amount of time you have for recovery, and your level of comfort with this field. So we offer, for a lot of people, facials is a good place to start. We have probably 16 different laser technologies in the office, and that's because lasers have different light wavelengths. They treat different things. Brown spots is a different laser than red spots on your face. There's skin tightening lasers. And again, the lasers have different amounts of recovery time too. We have a very cool new device called Plasma, and I love Plasma. I don't know if you remember that Sweet Home Alabama movie where he would go out and stick those metal rods in the beach to attract lightning, and it would create those fabulous glass sculptures.
Yes.
So this device actually draws nitrogen and oxygen out of the air to create mini lightning bolts that hit your skin so that you can resurface and tighten your skin.
Oh, wow.
I think
that's
it's the coolest.
A great example too. I love it.
Yeah, it's how I like to describe it to people because they're like, what's plasma? And I'm like, basically, we're creating lightning on your face.
Wow. Incredible. And I think you have an event or a workshop coming up in collaboration with another practice.
We
on
have
Thursday.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's a plasma event on Thursday, and it's really an event to help people understand this technology a little bit better. People are very familiar with lasers here in the Valley. Lasers have been around for 20 years. They hear things like CO2 laser, resurfacing laser, and people know what that technology does. Plasma is very interesting because it gets you similar results to a laser without as much downtime.
Okay.
Yeah, so that event is on Thursday. It's at the Henry from 11 to 1. And if you're interested in coming, just call our office and we'll get you signed up for it.
The Henry alone.
I know, right?
So funny. With COVID and everything, I haven't been there in years. I think it's time for a trip back to the Henry for some delicious breakfast and drinks. Let's talk about COVID. How has that impacted your industry? I'm always curious about how did you pivot, and did it make a change? Did it impact you guys?
Yes. It was such an interesting time. I was actually in Israel. I had gone by myself in March of 2020 I think I was supposed to be gone for 12 days. And, I went as things were starting to build with COVID. And I went saying, you know what, if I'm not supposed to go, America will get put on the no entry list. But we didn't. So I went. And while I was there, I had a really great trip, but it was very interesting to see, one day the restaurants were all closed and you weren't allowed to go into restaurants anymore. Then they started to empty out the hotel. And by the last 3 days, it was just me and one other couple that were left in our hotel because everybody else had gone home. They stopped staffing the hotel. I had a cell phone number to call. And then the rhetoric in the United States started to get kind of concerning, and it was just uncertain what was going to happen. So I came home a couple days early to be here, not get, stuck outside of the country, and then also figure out what to do with the business. At that point, there hadn't been any clear directions from government on whether things had to stay open or they had to close. This was around March 23rd, I think. And so it was very tricky because the information was a little bit confusing. And then I didn't want to expose any of my staff to anything that was potentially dangerous, and we're in healthcare. One of the benefits of healthcare is that we already had higher levels of cleanliness than most businesses. But at the same time, and when you don't know, it's extra frightening, I think. So at the same time, though, it's funny I say the word frightening. In 2020, I had made, I like to kind of make not a resolution, but just a goal for the year. 2020 was my no fear-based decisions.
Oh my gosh. And then March, here you go. We're going to test you. Are you legitimately connected to the no fear?
Right.
Did you stay connected to that?
I did. And it's such a helpful reminder. I still use it.
Good.
It's not my main focus this year, but it's, when you're about to make a decision, and this is something that I teach to other women business owners too. I say, step back and say, why am I making this decision? Am I choosing this path because I'm afraid of what will or won't happen? Or am I choosing this path because it consciously aligns with my goals? It might be the same decision, but motivation is extremely important. So at every step in, the shutdown process, the trying to apply for a PPP to keep all of my employees hired, to figuring out how to use, we were closed for about 5 weeks because we were in healthcare. We reopened on May 1st when the governor said that healthcare businesses could be back. And, even that, you feel a little bit like, are we real healthcare? I mean, but at the end of the day, I had a responsibility to all of my employees. And we took that month to really streamline things, move away from paper entirely, make things online. We fixed a couple of staffing issues so that when we reopened, we really were more prepared. And honestly, 2020 was our best year ever.
I've heard that so many times with folks who've been guests on our show. Happy to hear that. What would you attribute that to?
It was a couple of things. One is that we had a plan for how we were going to grow, and we pretty much stuck to it, right? We didn't let go of any of our staff out of fear that we couldn't afford them. We said, no, if everyone's going to stay, this is what we need to do to build revenue. We also benefited, I think, from some of the closures. People were at home. They were looking at themselves on Zoom all day long. They're like, oh my God, what happened to my neck? Right? And because people couldn't travel and they weren't going out to eat, they had more disposable income. And that's something that you saw across the nation in this industry, was that medical, spas, and aesthetics continued to grow because people just shifted their disposable income to themselves. They had time to recover at home, and they were looking at themselves all the time.
You've mentioned kind of your role as a leader a couple of times, one mentoring women in business, as well as coaching doctors and obviously folks who are in business in the medical field as well. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about that. What led you to say, I mean, it's evident to me just in the 45 minutes we've been chatting, you've just got this charisma about you and this ease as well as great wisdom. So I'm drawn to you. But from your perspective, what had you saying, I really have something to offer and teach beyond, working with my team and our clients?
Honestly, it's kind of a selfish motivation, right? In 2012, I got my coaching degree. I did an 8-month life coaching, business coaching program, honestly, because I just wanted to be a better human. Like I was having a hard time with, how to raise children, how to communicate better. And I just needed some skills. So I did the coaching degree to really understand interactions better. Through that, I had always been in different leadership positions, but that just gave me this whole new set of tools that became, again, so invaluable when I had to step up and lead, bigger teams, bigger revenue dollars. My passion in this business, I love aesthetics. I think it's awesome. But I could really be in any field. This just happens to be the one that I ended up in. What I really love about it is creating opportunity. I want my staff to leave better than when they came. I want clients to leave feeling better than when they came. And if people come to my business and they decide not to buy anything, but they go away feeling understood, or if my staff has better tools for communicating with their significant others or in their different relationships, to me, then that's work well done. I used to think when I was a kid that, I always knew that I wanted to be in some type of leadership position. And I used to think it had to be big, like CEO of Coca-Cola or something, And that view has really evolved over the past 10 to 15 years, where now I'm like, you know what? Yeah, there's people who are out there and they're changing huge amounts of people's lives. But at the end of the day, it's that heart connection that matters. And if you can make each person's life a little bit better, maybe that's enough.
Yeah. As it relates to being a leader in the industry that you have chosen, would you say that that is what helps you stand out as leaders, or are there other aspects of it too?
I do think that our commitment to the clients is something that differentiates us, and also our commitment to education. People in this business, like clients, will go to a place and the person will be like, you need Juvederm. They might not explain what Juvederm is. They might not tell you why you need it. They probably won't tell you where they're going to put it. They might not tell you how long it's going to last for. And to me, those are all essential things for a client to know. Aging, it's a treadmill. Once you're on, it's not going to stop. There's no stop button. it's going to be there. And so there's all these different things that happen as part of the natural aging process. And I want you to be educated on those, because then even if you choose to go somewhere else because it feels better, the vibe is better, you connect better to those people, you'll know what questions to ask so that your money, which we all work so hard to earn, is spent in a way that's going to work for you.
Mm-hmm. I'm just so excited. Daryl gave us, our producer gave us the a story before we came on air around, and we say it to everybody. Let's imagine that we're having coffee together, and that's just how we want to get to know each other. And I really do feel like I want to learn so much more about you and what you're doing, because you just are just my kind of people, which I love. And the dedication and commitment to clients and team speaks volumes about who you guys are as a business and business owners. So Conscious Capitalism Arizona, I don't know if you're familiar with it's kind of a movement, Conscious Capitalism. It's worldwide. And Arizona's chapter was, I believe, the fourth one created. And now I think there's 50 or 60 internationally. And the whole idea behind Conscious Capitalism is obviously consciously building businesses, leading industries, but also taking care of all stakeholders and not sacrificing one relationship for the other, which is the theme that I hear in what you're saying, right? And that it is more than okay to make money. It is how we are designed to further our communities and the opportunity to give back, to, as you said, have your employees, not only come in and work with you and pay them to do the work, but also that they feel better and become better versions of themselves, whether they stay with you or they go. That's the whole idea around conscious capitalism. Of course, there's more to that as well, but looking for the win-win and everything. And I believe that that's obviously who you guys are as business owners. Are you involved in any organizations or anything beyond the practice that helps you stay in touch with the community?
So on a personal level, I'm in a couple of different networking groups for women, which honestly is one of the things I've loved about moving to Phoenix. I've found it very easy.
Plenty.
So many. And great connections too, genuine people, friendships, helpfulness, just advice, information that, I didn't get in my years in Albuquerque. So I think that's one of the real strengths of the Phoenix community is the women business support that's out there. We've also, one of the fun things about making some money is that you have a little extra to give back. And so for the past several years, we've found different ways to contribute to the community just through things that either my team really is interested in or that I'm interested in. So we, my vice president of business development, Shay Terry, he's very involved in the gay community here in Phoenix. So we do a lot of support for the AIDS walk, for different charities that support that community. Last year, we partnered with Sojourner House to do a charity drive for them. My friend Kay owns Charity Charms, where they do charm bracelets.
Yeah, to Kay.
And so she had a partnership that she put together. So that was cool, just because I think, women who are suffering from domestic violence, who are finally leaving that situation, they might have damage on their face that's going to remind them every day of what they've been through. And so through the fundraising campaign, it was also kind of an awareness to say hey, what can we do to help these women? So we're going to, continue to partner with them. And then another friend of mine, Lorraine, who owns Amanda Hope Rainbow Angels, they do comfy cozies for cancer, which are these these cool gowns that she and her daughter designed.
With
the special ports. Yeah, the special opening for the ports. We support her organization every year. We're actually going to her gala on the 18th as a team, which will be super fun.
So good. So both Kay and I'm forgetting the gal. Lorraine. I know Kay's been on with us before on our 3C Amplified show, I believe, hosted by Jacqueline Destrums. And then Lorraine, I don't know that we probably need to have you come back with her. Yeah, we should. I feel like my connection with Lorraine was through Mask Magazine, Kimberly Cabral. Years ago, I was consulting with them. And I feel like that's where I was introduced to her through the mompreneur. Yeah, it was just a mom award that the Mask Magazine held. So I haven't been in touch with her, but that's my reference point.
Her story is amazing.
And then I'm sorry, did you say he was your human resource director?
Oh, vice president of business development.
VP of business development, Shay Terry. And with the gay rights activist, is there an organization that he champions?
I don't know specifically which one. So we do a lot of different things. One of them is supporting, some local businesses in town that are gay owned. And we do that through
Wonderful.
gift certificates, sponsorships. There's this AIDS walk coming up that I know we are sponsoring in some way. Honestly, people in the business, sometimes I'm a horrible manager. It's so good that I'm not a manager, that I just get to make decisions. But the way that I feel about things is that, like, if you show me that you're competent and you make good decisions, then just go do what you do. I don't need to be there micromanaging.
Makes you a great
part.
manager. I'd say the opposite.
Okay. When it comes to like scheduling monthly meetings, I'm horrible at that type. I would say like, I'll know I've made it when I have a personal assistant who can schedule my calendar for me.
I'm with you. I'm close. Daryl is like, hey, do you want me to put this on your calendar? That's awesome.
So anyways, with Shay, there's all of these different things that he comes up with. And I'm like, okay, does it help somebody? Does it get us exposure? Will the person benefit?
Yes,
Great, let's do it.
I would love to have him on as well and come talk about all the things he's doing. There's I think it's a marketing, kind of a social media group in the other building across from us. And they're a fairly new business. And I believe the business is called Gabers. And they're there to help influencers and folks get the word out about the LGBTQ community. And I fall in love with those people.
That's awesome.
And they're doing great work. So I love it. All right. So involved in the community, helping leaders, helping people really stand in the power of who they are and the mission and the purpose of what they want to do in their life, in addition to making people feel and look better. Look better.
You're welcome, Phoenix. Everyone looks prettier.
Right? Exactly. I love it. With a client and maybe somebody who's listening today and they've, like myself, they've always wondered, what could I do about my nose? Or what could I do to enhance myself or just cosmetically fix something, right? I'm using my terminology. What is a way to get started, to get introduced to your work, to see if you guys are the best fit, and likewise, if we're the best fit for you?
You won't lose by coming to see us. Everybody gets a complimentary consultation. It's an hour-long education session. We take super high-quality 3D pictures of your face. We also have a machine that takes an 8-layer skin analysis. So we go by data. We don't just do something to you and then say, well, it looks better to us. I don't know what you're complaining about, right? Like, we use data. So every time you get a treatment, we're going to take those follow-up pictures. It's science. We actually can see the changes that are happening in your skin. So if you come in to see us for that complimentary consultation, we'll do the photos for you, which honestly can be a little bit scary. People don't really want to see all of the details. But what it does is it lets us highlight for you where you'll get the most impact from the changes. Like, people don't have unlimited amounts of money to spend. So if you're going to put some money towards your face, which you should, you want it to have an impact. So if you give our office a call, come in for that complimentary consultation. Like I said, you'll get an hour with my expert team where we will give you our best recommendation. We have memberships. We have 3 levels of memberships, which I designed because I wanted it to be affordable. I didn't want people to have like this huge bill that they had to pay up front. So with the membership program, you can come in 3 to 4 times a year. We'll do whatever your face needs, depending on your level of membership. And then you know that you're benefiting from our expertise and you're staying on top of it. Like, aging doesn't stop. So if you get something done and then 2 years later you come back and you go, you know what, it didn't work, I'm going to say, no, you got older.
It worked. You've just continued to,
exactly. So people can come in, they can get that consultation. We'll give them a comprehensive plan and then we'll meet you where you at. You know, the idea is you got to get started. I always tell people, like, you're not really too young, right? Like, in your 20s, you need to be using really great skincare products. Like, invest in medical grade skincare. That's going to make your skin strong, resilient, healthy, prevent all that pollution, the UV from getting in and creating damage. In your 30s, you probably want to move into maybe a little bit of Botox. It's preventative. The lines, they get deeper the more you make them. So if you can start to smooth them out a little bit earlier, you'll be preventing that formation. And 30s is also a good time to start some light lasers, just because that's when damage that you got younger starts to show up on your skin. Every decade, the interventions get a little bit more, but the sooner you start, the less you have to do later. It's kind of like investing, right? Like, if you put $10 in when you're 20, that has a really long time horizon to grow and turn into something. So the investments in your skin that you make when you're younger are just going to stay with you and benefit you over the long term.
I've so enjoyed our conversation today, and I want to thank Robin for introducing us. We had some other clients of hers on, I think, last week or so, and
she's amazing.
Really amazing.
I've been with her since 2017, and because I decided to stop paying for media.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it didn't have the same authority that it used to. And so I started with Robin in 2017. I don't think she had a ton of clients, but she's so good at what she does.
She's a gem. We haven't met in person yet, but we've talked on the phone, and we've obviously been working on having an opportunity to share great stories like this. And that was one of the first things that I said to her. We don't charge a fee for our guests on our show. We're not paid media. It's all referral and by vetting the opportunity to talk to business owners. And our role here at Business RadioX is simply to get the word out about the great work that you guys are doing for our local businesses. So thank you for sharing your time with us. Before we scoot, tell us where we can find you for the brick and mortar location and in websites and social media that you're on as well.
Sure. So we are at 3102 East Indian School Road, right across from the Dutch Brothers, where I go all the time. And our website is www.arizonafacialplastics.com. And if you want to start out with our skincare products, it's arizonafacialproducts.com. You can buy them online. They'll ship directly to you. It's a good place to get started. But call us 480-296-0048 to get that complimentary consultation and figure out what you can do to start keeping your face looking beautiful.
I'm going to have to go check out those products. I've gotten better as I've gotten older about being willing to pay more for quality products. I just still don't, there's still some guesswork for me as to what I ought to be using. Mm-hmm. So I'll have to go check that out.
It's like a car. You spend a lot of money to buy a new car. You wouldn't not get the oil changed. You're going to get the oil changed.
And with a high grade,
a reputable place,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
And then you're going to get it washed and you're going to do the required maintenance because you made that investment. Well, guess what? You were born with a beautiful face. Invest in it.
Yeah. Great. And then I had mentioned earlier that you guys are on Facebook and Instagram as well, Arizona Facial Plastics for both. Felicia, it's been great to get to know you. Thank you again for spending your time with us. Yes.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting from the Max 6 Entrepreneur Center right here in Tempe, Arizona. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean business. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki. Thanks for listening.